Good to see you too, Mr. Rath. I see Browns. I see Buckeyes.
How you doing, Mark?
Good. And yourself, Don?
Good.
Good.
It's good to see you.
Good to be seen, my friend. Good to be seen.
Mr. Lang, are you in town? Mr. Lang, are you in town or are you out of town?
Yeah. Can you not hear me?
I couldn't hear you. I hear you now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm haven't left.
Hey, you look nice.
Thank you. I would have liked to have been at the game on Sunday, but alas, not in the cards this year.
So they play again this Sunday?
They do.
Yeah.
They play each other again. Wow.
Yeah, Sunday night in Pittsburgh.
Are they allowing a lot of fans or?
A few thousand, I think. Although I heard that they have to apply because I think that the exception to whatever the Pennsylvania governor's orders are in place, those have expired. So I think they have to apply for another exception to be able to have fans at that game.
Pittsburgh hadn't had fans all year, so they're allowing fans for Sunday night, Jonathan?
Oh, I don't know. That's what I had heard. I've looked online for tickets, but as you can imagine, they're many hundreds of dollars.
They're cheaper than the Buckeye-Alabama game.
Yeah.
They're only doing
John, I know a good loan officer if you want to refinance your house to go to either of those games.
somebody that has access to an Ohio State ticket. If anybody wants one. She's not going.
Jeremy, is Sean coming tonight?
Should be, yeah.
Okay. I just am watching the waiting room to make sure all council gets in first.
He was at committee, so
Well, Happy New Year, everybody. I'm not sure much has changed.
We get to March 16th. We've done a whole year of these. Well, almost.
Wow. Spencer, you have any latest from the health department?
I mean, nothing that's not public already. I mean, their contract tracing is still difficult. I mean, by the time someone is notified through the contract tracing team, they really have already had or should have been under probably 3 to 4 days of quarantining. So it's just they're just trying to keep caught up. And I know they sent out some new guidelines. And then I heard today that the schools are having new guidelines as far as, how students will be quarantined and such. So, all right, I'm going to let in everybody from council here. I'm going to go ahead and let in the public people that are waiting.
Okay.
Spence,
What?
you forgot to shave.
You know what? I'm trying out the beard life for a little bit, David.
All right. You need me to buy you a razor, I'll buy you one.
Okay, I appreciate that. That. My fiance likes it, so I probably will keep it for a little bit.
Yeah, I think should carry a little more clout.
All right, Don, everybody that's in the waiting room has entered the meeting.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll get started. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of your Newark City Council to order, January 4th, 2021. Janine, please call the roll.
Mr. Blake,
here.
Mr. Bob,
Here.
Mr. Fennell,
Here.
Ms. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Harris,
Here.
Mr. Labutus,
Here.
Mr. Lang,
Here.
Mr. Marmee, did he say here? Mr. Marmee,
Hang on. He's working on it.
I-
Here.
Mr. Rath,
Here.
Mr. Barker.
Here.
We have all here or present this evening. Next on the agenda, we have the invocation by Mr. Blake. Mr. Blake?
May you bow your heads. God, we give you thanks for giving us another day. In these new hours, new days of 2021, we give you thanks for your faithfulness to our city. There have been many struggles, many sorrows, and challenges still as the coronavirus threatens so many in our city and in our nation. And yet we are still here and able to give you thanks that there are rays of hope with emerging vaccines. We are grateful to you for the heroism of so many in our fellow citizens in healthcare, our safety services, and human services during this pandemic. May the work of this city council issue forth the benefit to our city and its citizens. May all that is done today be in your greater honor and glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Barker. Next on the agenda, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything pertaining to the agenda tonight. Do we have anything? Okay. We'll move on to the minutes of our December 21st, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Mr. Labutus, second by Mr. Barker. All those in favor signify by a thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. That passes. We have no appointments this evening. We have 2 reports this evening from standing committees, one from finance and one from service. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have no reports from city officials this evening. We have 5 communications, 2 from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, 1 a transfer application from Hooligans Bar to YUV LLC, and the other is a new application for Don and Sue's Pizza Plus LLC. And then we have 3, I believe we have 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 letters regarding the proposed River Road development. One from Mark Poole, Jess Paget, Tracy Vores, and Dr. Goldenberg. Again, without objection, those will be received and filed. I do believe the Planning Commission is having a hearing on that on, I believe it's January 12th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that'll be also a time that you'd probably like to come and give us your opinion. There'll be a public hearing at that meeting. Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens. This is a time for you to be heard. This is not a debate with council. This is just your opportunity. Now I'm going to wait a minute, and if there's anyone out there that would like to talk during this first section, would you please turn your video on? We'll give it a second here and I'll call on you. Is there anyone like to speak this first section of citizens' comments? Spence, do you see anybody? Okay.
No,
Again, go ahead.
I was just telling you no.
Okay.
No one had turned on their video.
Thank you. Again, there's another section after the legislation if you'd like to comment. So if you would, just hang in there a little bit. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances on the second reading. There are none this evening. Then we'll go to ordinances on the first reading, 20-45.
Ordinance number 20-45 by Mr. Rath, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property generally described as 209 North 21st Street, City of Newark, Licking County, Ohio, from that of single-family residence, RH, High Density District, to MB, Medium Intensity Business District, zoning code of the City of Newark, Ohio.
That will be referred to the Planning Commission and then back to us in a couple months. And next, we'll move on to resolutions on the second reading, 20-93.
Resolution number 20-93 by Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the City of Newark for planning, design, and/or construction of wastewater facilities, UV disinfection upgrade project, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan.
You've heard the second reading of 20-93. What is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Rath.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 20-93.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Rath,
Second.
second by Mr. Bub. Is there any discussion on 20-93? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
yes,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath,
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
20-93 passes 10-0. Next on the second reading, we have 20-97.
Resolution number 20-97B, expedite by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
You've heard the second reading of 20-97. What is your wish? 20-97B, I'm sorry. What is your wish?
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt resolution 20-97B.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Marmee.
Second.
Just a point of clarification, if I could, Mr. President.
Sure. Second by Mr. Bub. Go ahead, Mr. Sassen.
There's actually a motion already on the floor. This was a procedure that Mr. Marmee had gone through 2 weeks ago. We had the motion to adopt and then the motion to separate.
And we split.
And then this portion of the question was tabled to a date certain, which is today. So there's already a motion on the table.
You're right. Thank you, Director Sassen. Yes, that's the one we split 2 weeks ago. You're right. So we have a motion and a second already on 2097B. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
yes,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath,
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
2097B passes 10-0. Thank you, Director Sassen, for keeping me straight on that. And finally, we go on to resolutions on the first reading, 20-96.
Resolution number 20-96 by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
And 20-96 will be held for 2 weeks till our next meeting. Okay. That concludes the legislation this evening. Now we'll move on to our second opportunity for comments from citizens. Again, this is not a debate with council, but this is your opportunity to be heard. Same rules apply. If you have anyone, turn your camera on. I'll recognize you. Give us your name and address for the record. Spence, I don't see anybody. Do you?
No.
Okay. We'll move on. Any city officials this evening? The Honorable Law Director Sassen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will pass.
Thank you, Director. Mayor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to welcome everybody into 2021, our new year. We are here. I surely want to reach out to our safety forces, water employees, and street personnel that worked both on Christmas and New Year's to keep our city safe. As everybody knows, that weather hit, and So, obviously, fire and police, and we have somebody at the water departments to keep those safe too and monitored 24/7. And that's normal on those holidays. But of course, this year we had the plows out 24/7 around Christmas and New Year's. And while I'm sure many citizens enjoyed the white Christmas and it was kind of timed rather nicely, thank gosh it's gone. Again, thanks to employees for taking care of the streets for us. Other than that, just go Bucks, and with that I'll pass.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Now we'll move on to council miscellaneous comments. Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Bub.
Thank you. I will pass as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bub. Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to welcome everybody to 2021 and extend my thanks to everybody who was out there working on the holiday with all of the snow clearing the streets. So with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Ms. Hall.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everybody as well. I think the street department was out. They were doing a great job. It was kind of nice. I mean, the snow was pretty for about 10 minutes. But I hope everyone had a good holiday. I know a lot of people had a quiet holiday, but they said, yeah, we had good food. So anyway, welcome to 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look forward to working with everybody again this year. I think last year went pretty quick on my first year back on council. So go Bucks. We finally beat Clemson, and go Browns beat the Steelers. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Labutus.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to wish everyone a happy 2021. Happy New Year. Thankful for all of the employees that were out over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, making sure roads were clear and getting out there. I appreciate all the hard work that they put in, as well as police and fire and water as well. And again, go Bucks next week. Bring home a national championship. With that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Labutus. Mr. Lang.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. I'll also extend a thank you to all the folks clearing the roads. In particular, I know we did have some icy times here on Londondale, and you guys got the crew out here, so much appreciated. I'd also really like to thank our first responders who came to our neighborhood December 23rd. As I think what you've seen in the news, there was pretty awful tragedy that happened in our neighborhood, where a woman and her 1-year-old granddaughter were hit by a distracted driver on Londondale. I really want to thank all the firefighter EMS folks who came out, because I know they had to deal with a pretty hard scene right before the Christmas holiday, and we had to send the chaplain out to, I think, look after some of them. So I hope that they were still able to enjoy their holidays after taking care of the scene. Really want to thank the Newark Police Department. There was not a lot of information to go on. The driver fled the scene, and as they always do, they tracked him down in just a few hours and brought him to justice. So I really couldn't be more grateful to our first responders for really showing up and doing a fantastic job with a very difficult circumstance. Also want to extend a thank you to Dave Lewis and Mark Shively, who met with me today to look at the school transportation in the area. I know we do have some student drop-offs in the area, so we're looking at those to make sure we're not putting students in a bad spot. And then I also like to thank our engineering department, Brian Moorhead and Nick Schultz, who I know are already looking at some different measures we might be able to take on Londondale, because it is kind of a strange road with there not being sidewalks, but it being so wide. So lots of different things we're looking at that hopefully we can improve the safety in the area. And I would like to thank everybody who's helping me work with that. Spencer, I know you've been helping me as well, so I'd like to thank you for that. So with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Mr. Marmee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to call a finance committee meeting. I too want to thank everybody in the safety forces and the water department over the holidays. I know it's a tough time, especially this year with all the snow that we received on Christmas Eve. But I think the safety of the citizens definitely was taken care of, and I appreciate that. And also the street department and the water department, as the mayor indicated. They are on call and they're out there still working and making sure that, you know, we have the luxury of having that city water, and I appreciate them over the holidays. I too wish everybody good fortune in 2021. In particular, I wish the Buckeyes good fortune in 2021. I hope that they come home with a victory, and go Bucks. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Marmee. Mr. Rath.
Thank you. I want to call a service committee meeting for Monday, the 18th. Just want to wish everybody a happy new year. I too want to say thank you to everybody that was working over the holidays. That's never a fun thing to do, but a necessity nonetheless, and obviously did a great job. And with that, I will say go Bucks. Here we go Steelers. Get ready for the varsity squad. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. And Mr. Barker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to echo everyone's comments. Our safety crew, the incident on December 23rd is tragic. And as Councilman Lang said, they promptly worked. I was on the scene right as they were finishing up. And it was, you know, hopefully we can find some avenues of ways that we can increase the safety on Londondale for those who walk. We know they're not just high schoolers, but there are obviously grandparents and also the university students. So I know that our engineering department, our safety department are both working on those diligently. Again, Happy New Year. And with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. I'd also like to add my thanks to the city employees. I'll also tell everyone Happy New Year and good fortune in 2021. I'm glad 2020 is behind us. Our next council and committee meeting, we will be January 18th, it's a holiday, so it will be Tuesday the 19th at 5:45. Committees will start 7 o'clock, full council. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Labutus, second by Mr. Barker. All those in favor, give me a thumbs up. That's great. Thanks to everybody for this evening. Thanks, Mr. Barker, for helping out, and we'll see you all